What's up YouTube, it's Dylan, and today, as I said in my last video, I'm going to share a little bit about my story. Now I'm going to orient it around the things that I have manifested throughout my life, and if in another video you want me to share a little bit more of like a raw, kind of vulnerable story about how I got to where I am, not just the ways I've manifested different things, and I can share that as well, be more vulnerable and raw, I guess you could say, with you guys. But in this video, I'm just going to talk about a couple of different bigger things in my life that I've manifested, and a couple of them I kind of did without understanding the mechanisms or the laws behind manifestation, or the laws of consciousness, if you want to put it that way. I didn't understand them at the time, but the same reasoning, or not necessarily reasoning, because a lot of this stuff is outside of reason, but the same principles applied to those things that I manifested before I knew about these laws. So I'm just going to start with one of the biggest things that I can remember, which was probably, it's hard to say exactly, it was like 5 or 6 years ago. I had dropped out of college. I went to college for 1 year, and then I was like, fuck this, this is not for me. I was actually depressed at the time, and like I said, if you want me to be more vulnerable, I can make another video about that, but I was just having a hard time in school, skipping all my classes. I literally didn't give a fuck, and so all my peers, my friends, my family were like, don't do it, don't drop out. But I dropped out because I had to. And then for a little while after that, I was working a job, just kind of not having too much of a purpose in life, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And then my brother and I, we were living with our parents. I was like 19 at the time, and we both started getting into gardening. We had a small garden outside of my parents' house in North Carolina at the time, and we were learning about permaculture. We really wanted to, after doing it for a year and a half or so, we really wanted to start a farm, and we wanted to be somewhere tropical. And so in the United States, it's really Florida, maybe some parts of California or Hawaii. And Florida was the closest to us, so we were looking around for different pieces of land in Florida. And long story short, my brother and I found a beautiful piece of land. At the time, it was only $45,000 for like 3.5 acres. And so instead of going to college, my brother didn't go to college either. So instead of both of us going to college and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, we manifested a perfect property for us to start our farm at. And the reason that I say we manifested it is because everything just happened so smoothly, so easily, and 3.5 acres for $45,000. If you think nowadays, like, that's unheard of now, especially since the market's gone up. But yeah, that was one of the first manifestations that I can remember, and like bigger ones, as I said. Our whole life really is a manifestation, but these are just some kind of success stories, I guess, I'm sharing with you guys from my life. And how did that manifest into my life? Well, if I think back about it, one, I had parents who were willing to listen to me, and they believed in me, and I don't think that that's a coincidence. I don't think that if I and my brother and I didn't believe in ourselves, our parents wouldn't believe in us, they wouldn't want to do that for us. It's a simple example of how your own beliefs and thoughts affect the people in your life. But how did we manifest that without knowing it? Because at the time I was just barely kind of learning about spirituality in general, because I'd been atheist for a lot of my teenage years. And I was applying principles of mind, laws of consciousness without knowing it. Literally one of the only things I ever thought about for a couple of months was getting that piece of land. And it wasn't specifically that one, we've found a couple different ones, and then we went down to Florida, looked at them, and then it was just, it was easy, done, deal. But how did that happen? How did I come across a property that was perfect for us? At least in my opinion, my belief is because of my constant thoughts about it and visualizing. Like, I didn't even think about it in this way at the time, but I would just be visualizing, how are we going to plant our fruit trees? How are we going to grow our veggies? This, maybe, and even our dwelling places, our homes, and just the constant imagination around it, due to the laws of mind, the laws of consciousness, that whatever you impress on your subconscious mind over and over and over again, and whatever you imagine and feel will be manifested in the screen of space. It was. And that was the first big thing I can remember. Then I stayed on there for a couple of years, and eventually I was called to something else, which I guess you could say I manifested that in a way, but it's something smaller that I'm not going to go into this video. And at the time, I was kind of at a crossroads in my life, again, going against what my family wanted me to do, because I was previously committed to this farm that I was on, and I did love it, but I loved working with the land, but I just knew that having to grow food and tend to the land and, to some extent, slave away in order to pay my bills, because it is fun, but in order to make enough food that you can eat and actually sell it, just with two people, it takes a lot, and no machinery, all hand tools, it takes a lot of work. And I absolutely love growing food, and I want to get a homestead in the future, but at the time, and I still feel this way, I didn't want to do that as a career. And so I was at a crossroads in my life, and I also wanted a partner. It was also around the time that I stopped smoking weed, which I have a video about that. It's like my second or third video, you can go watch that. How I quit my 10-year habit of smoking weed. And so it was just a lot of things kind of coming together at once in my life. And as I said, I wanted a partner, but at the same time I was okay without one. And then out of the blue, one day, actually about 3 years ago, my current girlfriend reached out to me over Instagram. I was living in Florida, she was living in Utah at the time. And she reached out to me over Instagram, and then, long story short, we were talking a bunch, just started talking slowly, and then over months it developed into talking a couple times a week, and then it developed into talking every day, and we were just like, oh my god, I haven't even met you in person, but I love you. And so then she picked her stuff up and moved down to Florida, and just like that, I manifested a girlfriend who is absolutely perfect for me. There is nothing I would ever want to change about her. She is the most compatible person for me that I've ever met out of anybody, ever. And if that is not a manifestation, then I don't know what is. So that was like the second biggest thing. And then, and that was about 2.5 years ago. And since then my partner and I together have both manifested traveling to Southeast Asia, which we did. We traveled to Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia for about 5 months. Stayed in a couple different spots for like a couple weeks at a time. And it all went very smoothly. We sold some stuff and saved up some money to do that. And then we just went out there for not knowing exactly how long we were going to do it, not having a remote source of income, so we were not bringing money in. We just knew, like, hey, we're going to be good, and we just want to explore the world. And so we did that. And around the time that we were getting low, our money was getting slim, then we had already had our flights booked to come back to America and to move to an apartment in Oregon. Because we had done a lot of talking and we didn't want to live in Florida anymore, we wanted to live in Oregon. And we found the absolute perfect place for us at the time. Sight unseen, we were able to get it very easily. I mean, the process was super easy and it was perfect for us. And at the time, we did not have cars. We sold our cars. And then we got back to Florida after our travels, packed up our stuff in a rental car, drove it across the country to Oregon. And when we were in Oregon, our money was really starting to run kind of thin, you know, paying rent and bills and stuff. And so obviously we were both looking for jobs. And we got jobs at the perfect time. This is something that I've experienced in my life multiple times, is, you know, kind of running thin in the bank account. And then because I have struggled, trust me, I have struggled with poverty consciousness, lack, scarcity mindsets and beliefs and feelings. Like, it's hard. But at the same time, I've had enough faith and enough belief that I always have everything I need and that the universe provides for me, that everything has always worked out. I mean, we were getting low. We had just paid our rent, so we were covered in that sense. And then each of us got a job. And by the time, you know, the next rent was due, by the time that came around, we had more than enough money. We weren't living lavishly, but we were living very comfortably. And also, to mention, the apartment that we got and the jobs that we got, we did not have a car in Oregon for most of the time we lived there. We just rode bikes around. It was in Eugene. It's a very bikeable city. And we each got a job in 10 or 12 minutes biking distance. I mean, just these things worked out perfectly. And some of you guys might be like, oh, that's not manifestation. Like, that's just whatever. But we can agree to disagree on that, I guess. And since then we moved back to Florida temporarily. Well, actually, we had bought a car. That's another kind of thing that was a manifestation. We bought a car. It was absolutely perfect for us. Super easy process. And an amazing deal for a Jeep Patriot. And we still have that car. And then we moved back to Florida just for a little bit because we kind of missed the warmth. Just lived with family temporarily. And we knew we weren't going to stay there for too long. We were there for a couple months or so. And then the same thing we did when we moved to Oregon. We decided, hey, we want to move to Utah, Salt Lake City area. Sandy is where we are specifically. I'm not going to give any more details than that. But, what was I saying? Yeah, just the same way that we picked the perfect apartment out for us in Oregon and everything worked out smoothly. Our jobs came easily and at the perfect time. The same thing happened in Utah. We were looking at different apartments. We found a couple that we liked, and the one that we happened to like the most, we didn't know it at the time until we chose this one. We said, hey, this is the one we want to go to. After we chose this apartment that we want to go to, that I'm currently living in, we decided it was the one that we both want. Then we call them and try to talk to them about, have a couple questions about things. And then we find out that they have a $2,000 move-in special. $2,000 move-in credit. And so we were like, well, fuck yeah, we'll get a month and a half free of rent. And it was the apartment that we wanted the most in the area that we desired the most, right by the mountains. 25-minute, 30-minute, 35, depending on the place you go to, drive to ski resorts to snowboard, because we both love doing that. and 10-minute drive to the mountains, like, is the perfect place, and everything worked out so perfectly. And now we are here, and yeah, those are some of the biggest manifestations that I have had success with in my life. And there's a lot of other smaller ones that sometimes I don't even necessarily point it out to myself, like, oh, that was something I manifested. But the reason that I wanted to share my story with you guys is to give you some realistic experiences of it. Now, of course, it's my experiences I'm sharing with you, but it is my experiences, and sometimes, the process has been difficult. I'm not gonna lie, shedding the layers of the old self, the old beliefs, the limiting thoughts, the limiting beliefs, the negative emotions, like, that stuff can be hard. And the point's not to fully get rid of it, it's just to shift into a new identity and shift into a new way of thinking, feeling, and being. And yeah, so as I just said, I shared with you guys some of the biggest manifestations in my life, but it doesn't mean it was easy peachy. I do think that from now on, it's going to continue to get easier and easier because I am much more aware of the laws and how they work. And that's why I started this YouTube channel, because I've had success with different things myself. I have practiced a lot of different things, a lot of different techniques, and I've learned and studied for years now. Years. I mean, when I was working any jobs that I was working, whenever it was possible for me to do so, I would have an earbud in my ear, just a wireless one, cover it with my hair so nobody can see it. And then I'll be listening to Neville Goddard. I'll be listening to Joseph Murphy. I'll be listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza. I really loved him a lot. Charles Haanel. Rhonda Burns, the secret person, which I've since evolved into more Joseph Murphy and Neville Goddard. Those are my favorite teachers. But yeah, I promise you that this stuff works. It really does. And sometimes it can take longer than you want. Sometimes it can happen and you don't even necessarily realize, oh, I manifested that. But you are very powerful. Look at your life and take inventory of things that you have manifested. Maybe it was something small, like, oh, I wanted a free cup of coffee. Or like, oh, I just wanted a cup of coffee, I don't really feel like paying for it. And then maybe within the next couple of days, somebody just gave you a cup of coffee or something like that. It's small in terms of what we think in our mind, but there's not a difference between manifesting a cup of coffee and manifesting the life of your dreams. The only difference is in our mind that we put the coffee is here and the life of our dreams is way up here, and so therefore it takes longer, it's harder. And I'm definitely guilty of that. That's why I share these things. Everything that I share with you guys that I have ever talked about that can be for lack of a better word, can be a block in our manifestation process, I share it from my own experience that I've gone through it. And so just know that you're not alone. If you keep practicing whatever it is you're practicing that you believe and know in your heart works. Visualization, I love that. I personally think it's one of the best ways, using our imagination, as Neville Goddard talks about. That's actually, I believe, how I manifested this apartment. Once we were looking through it, I was like, yes, this is the one I want. I would just imagine myself sleeping in the bed and just waking up in the morning, coming out here, and then going to the island, sitting down, drinking some water, and getting ready for the day, which we do have an island in our kitchen. And so, because I had already, of course, I've seen the inside, so I could just imagine it in my mind. And as I was going to sleep, I didn't even do it too many times, like just a handful of times before going to sleep. And maybe in the morning, I would just sit there or lay there and imagine just like, oh, alarm went off or whatever, and then I just wake up, get out of bed, get up, open the door, come out here, and now I'm here. There's no coincidence. that that happened. There's also no coincidence that the one that we chose and the one that I imagined myself in happened to have a $2,000 move-in credit to allow us to live for free for a month and a half, which is almost how long we've been here. The first time we're paying rent is this coming month in February, which is amazing. Addition, I didn't even care, I didn't necessarily say, oh, I want to have a nice move-in credit, but that was just cherry on top from the universe. And so visualization works. I can get carried away sometimes, but visualization works. Affirmations, I love affirmations as well. Those are my two favorite ones. I've kind of made a video about affirmations, I believe, a while ago. I'll make another one. I'll make a video about visualization. But the point of what I'm saying is whatever you believe works. If you believe the imagining, visualizing works, do that consistently. Do not give up. And do not care about what you see in the world. That is a reflection of your past. Your present reality is a reflection of your past. And so to create a new future, you do that with what you imagine in the present moment. What you think, feel, believe, and imagine in the present moment. So even if it's something like a full moon ceremony, if you truly in your heart and mind believe without a doubt that works, then do it and it will work for you. And I hope that you guys manifest everything that you want into your life. There's many other things that I will be bringing into creation in my life over the coming year or however long. Like I said, you can't know exactly how long some stuff will take, but I'll continue to share my own personal successes as I experience them. Share any of your own successes in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share this video with a friend or somebody that would enjoy it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you watched all the way through, you're awesome. I'll have to create something free to send to anybody that watches the whole video, and then at the end of the video I'll be like, oh, say this word, say bunny. I have a bunny, he's right here. Say bunny if, which I'm not doing in this video, but maybe something I'll do. Say bunny if you made it this far in the comments, and then I'll just send you something for free. A little, I don't know, PDF or maybe a video that I don't post. I don't know. I think that could be fun though. So, anyways, everybody, have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.